In a world of mimics, rugs of smothering, animated armor, and cloaked-shaped night terrors, it's no wonder parties of adventurers get a little paranoid. But that's when you take a break in a calming glen filled with moss-covered statues. So the gargoyles can attack! Ha 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 ha! Ain't no rest for the wicked. Welcome back to a Compendium of Monsters. It's Gargoyle Week. Before we continue, sink your claws deep into that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. Gargoyles are challenge level 2, and they are designed to give your players a hard time. These medium elementals have an armor class of 15, average hit points of 52, a speed of 30 feet, a flying speed of 60 feet, and dark vision out to 60 feet. Gargoyles are resistant to non-magical weapon damage, not made with adamantine weapons. Yeah, I would imagine unenchanted melee weapon attacks don't do much to living stone. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Gargoyles are immune to poison damage in the following conditions: exhausted, petrified, and poison. You know, it would be really funny if you could petrify a stone creature. What would that make them? Stoned? Gargoyles have the false appearance ability, which allows them to appear indistinguishable from an inanimate statue while they are motionless. Doesn't look suspicious at all. Nice try, stick. Seriously, if you're playing a D&D campaign and come across a myriad of gargoyle statues, be suspicious. At least one of them is definitely alive and ready to murder you. For their only action, gargoyles have a multi-attack that allows them to make one attack with their bite and one with their claws. Both attacks deal 5 damage, but it's flavored as either piercing or slashing. It would be fun if gargoyles had a wing attack. What are they going to do? Break their stone wings? Seems unlikely, but I guess you never know. If 2-armed gargoyles aren't your thing, no worries. 4-armed gargoyles pack quite a punch and come in medium or large size. There are a couple of differences. These gargoyles either have a triple or quintuple multi-attack, but if you see a giant 4-armed gargoyle, you know everyone's favorite puzzle dungeon creating lich is involved. For the uninitiated, Asarak the Eternal. But seriously, he's the only one who can create giant 4-armed gargoyles. Gargoyles are designed as guardians because, come on, what else would an animated statue do? As it turns out, murder things in horrible fashion. Gargoyles enjoy inflicting maximum carnage on their victims, taking immense pleasure in a sadistic kill. I suppose that makes sense. How else would they alleviate the boredom of pretending to be a statue for goodness knows how long? Never mind solving puzzles, Gaussian integer problems, or other vaguely intellectual pursuits. Gargoyles have a reputation for cruelty, but that really just comes down to their own internal issues. See, gargoyles are created when a clodhopper known as Oglemok walks around and loses shards of his bulky rock body. Ooh, and look at this sucker. Damn, boy, he thick. I meant what I said. Gargoyles are cast-off refuse that the elemental plane of Earth gives sentience and a form. But don't worry, their form doesn't create itself quickly. Oh no. They grow over long years, whatever that means, until their final form is awakened. Oglemok is thoroughly evil, and the gargoyles that remain on the elemental plane of Earth spend their time carving large boulders for Oglemok to hurl into the elemental plane of air. What did you get, Charlie? I got a rock. This rock-hurling bullshit nonsense is done to terrorize the Aarakocra, Windukes, and other denizens of the elemental plane of air, because Oglemok hates them. Never mind that weathering from water destroys more rock than weathering by wind. I suppose it's difficult to harass the denizens of a water plane when your huge rocks go sploosh and relatively harmlessly sink to the bottom of whatever that thalassophobia-inducing body of water is called. Oh, the elemental plane of water. I suppose I should have guessed that from context clues. Having 40% less brain power than average intelligence, gargoyles are greatly inspired by exceptionally intelligent individuals and may choose to serve them. Of course, gargoyles aren't competent enough to aid in research or anything meaningful. No! Gargoyles are like lazy guard dogs that like destroying or terrorizing intruders before falling asleep for another 20 hours. Sounds more like a guard cat now that I think about it. If gargoyles appear in your setting, whether you're a DM or a player character, statues that may be gargoyles are often surrounded by dead vermin like birds or rodents. Bear in mind the corpses won't necessarily be right up against the statue that is an actual gargoyle, because why would you place your killings right next to your resting place? Better to pin it on someone else so when an entity comes investigating, it's killing time! Following this train of thought, gargoyles can be any statue you want. Just slap the Gargi stats on and presto! A forever paranoid party. In real life, gargoyles are the precursor to the gutter. They were added onto buildings, had troughs carved into their backs, and were used to project water away from the building's foundation. However, gargoyles served other purposes. First, they protected their parent building from evil spirits. Begone, Satan! You know what? Maybe there's some semblance of logic using scary things to scare other scary things. But of course, gargoyles also represent a damnation of sorts. If you refused to observe the religious beliefs of the time, it was believed that you were damned and would suffer in hellish blah 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 at the end of your life. Gargoyles typically stood juxtaposed to the statues of saints below in an attempt to help a largely illiterate populace understand the difference between good and evil. The etymology of gargoyle is interesting, especially since it's derived from the French word gargouille, or throat. Slightly off topic, the French really love their ooey words. Gargouille, glenouille, nouille, quenouille, glibouille, douille, andouille, bledouille. You get it. With the rise of Gothic architecture in the 12th century, gargoyles, grotesques, chimeras, and bosses decorated churches or other major buildings. While gargoyles served as waterspouts, grotesques, chimeras, and bosses were entirely decorative. Interestingly, bosses were initially used to cover the miter joint between two beams, but weren't decorated until someone saw the blob on the ceiling and went, "You know, it would look better if..." This is a very long way of saying that gargoyles in Dungeons & Dragons are not actually gargoyles. Out of the descriptors in this video, gargoyles are best described as grotesques. Well, actually... Not a good look, buddy! You know what? Just enjoy the gargoyles. I'll sit here in my corner and think about what I've done. Anyways, what do you all think of gargoyles? Let me know in the comments below. A special thank you to my lovely patrons for your support. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, share my video on your Twitter, Facebook, or other social media, and make the leap to become one of my patrons on Patreon. I'll see you all next time.